Welcome to the deep dive. So, I want to start you off with a quick game of Would You Rather.
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
Imagine you have a choice right here, right now. Option one, eternal youth. You never age, you never die. Option two, unlimited, instantaneous wealth for the rest of your natural life. Which one do you pick?
That is the ultimate existential trade-off, isn't it? Because, fundamentally, those are the two things that drive almost all human effort. It's either mastery over the material world or mastery over time.
Exactly. But what if, and just hang with me for a second, what if we entertain the possibility that you didn't have to choose? That there was a single legendary substance that could grant you both?
Well, then you're talking about the Philosopher's Stone,
The one and only.
the great obsession. It's this mythical substance that promised to do two very specific things. One, turn cheap common metals into pure gold.
The unlimited wealth part.
Right. And two, act as the elixir of life, the ultimate medicine, something that could restore your youth and grant you immortality.
And that's what we're doing today. We are taking a deep dive into not just the legend of the stone, but the supposed blueprint for how to actually make it. We're going to trace the source code for this secret, and it all starts with one of the most mysterious artifacts in all of human history, the Emerald Tablet.
And this tablet is supposedly the original recipe, written down thousands and thousands of years ago. Our mission today is to follow that thread. We're going to track this knowledge from its alleged origins in ancient Atlantis.
Atlantis, really?
Oh, yeah. Through its appearance in Egypt, then into the secret labs of medieval Europe, and then all the way up to a bizarre 21st century online cookbook that claims to lay it all out step by step.
And our sources for this are just incredible. They reveal the geniuses who were obsessed with this quest, expose a major 20th century fraud who basically invented most of the mythology we think of as ancient, and maybe most importantly, they reveal the one single, shockingly simple ingredient that this modern recipe says is the key to it all.
It's a journey that really forces you to question what is real ancient wisdom, what's just accidental science, and what is just a complete and total fabrication. It's going to be a wild ride.
Okay, let's start with the basics then. The Philosopher's Stone, or the Peace Stone, it's this one singular idea, but it really tackles two completely different human desires at once.
And that duality is exactly why it was so powerful, why it commanded so much attention from the greatest minds in history. We tend to focus on the first part, turning lead into gold. The alchemists call this transmutation.
So just taking a worthless piece of metal and making it valuable.
Exactly. Taking something base and cheap, like lead or iron, and instantly converting it into something noble, stable, and incredibly valuable, gold.
Which, if you think about it, would completely crash the global economy. But for the person who did it?
For that one alchemist, it's unlimited, self-generating wealth. You're immune to the market. You're totally free.
But that wasn't even the main goal for a lot of these guys, was it?
For many of the most serious practitioners, no. The gold was almost a side effect, a proof of concept. You see, they believed the Peace Stone was the universe's ultimate purifying agent.
What do you mean by that, purifying?
It wasn't just about changing metals. It was about forcing any substance into its most perfect possible state. And when you applied that principle of perfection to the flawed, decaying human body, you got the elixir of life.
The ultimate cure.
More than a cure. It was a restorer. It would supposedly reverse aging, cure any disease, and then just keep you in your youthful prime forever.
So immortality.
Immortality. In their worldview, gold was the perfect metal, and an eternal youthful body was the perfect biological state. The stone was just the catalyst that made perfection possible in any realm.
The amount of time people dedicated to this is just mind-boggling. We're talking centuries. The best minds in Europe, the Middle East, all trying to do the same thing. Breaking stuff down, distilling it, heating it, combining it.
Over and over. Dedicating their entire lives to finding that one missing step.
And here's the really ironic part.
The great paradox of alchemy.
They all failed. Spectacularly. They never made gold. They never lived forever.
But in failing, over and over, they accidentally lay the groundwork for all of modern science. Specifically, for chemistry.
How does that work?
Well, think about it. To do their work, they had to be incredibly methodical. They had to purify things, distill them, measure them precisely. They invented glassware, filtration techniques, different ways of applying controlled heat.
So the scientific method was born from a magical quest.
In a way, yes. Their goal was mystical, but their methods had to be rigorous. And that rigorous trial and error process is exactly what chemistry is built on. Alchemy's failure was, you could say, the necessary prerequisite for chemistry's success.
And this wasn't just some fringe hobby. Let's talk about the caliber of the people involved. The brain power aimed at this problem is serious.
You have to start with the biggest name of all, Sir Isaac Newton.
The apple, gravity, the loss of motion, that Isaac Newton.
That Isaac Newton, the father of modern physics. When we think of him, we think of pure, cold rationality. But the sources are clear. Newton spent the last 30 years of his life.
30 years.
30. A longer period than he spent on his laws of motion. And he was completely, utterly obsessed with alchemy.
But why? He's the guy who basically invented scientific reason. Why would he get pulled into what seems like magic?
Because for him, it wasn't magic. There was no separation. Newton saw the universe as a giant, complex machine created by God, like a divine cryptogram.
Okay.
He felt his work in physics and math had cracked the code for how the planets move. But he believed the code for how matter itself changes, how life works, was hidden in ancient alchemical texts, especially in the Emerald Tablet.
So he thought it was just another science problem to be solved.
The ultimate science problem. He was looking for the fundamental law of transmutation, and he dedicated his genius to cracking that code. He even made his own new translations of the Emerald Tablet, trying to find the secret.
That completely reframes it. This wasn't a bunch of crazies in basements. This was the highest scientific pursuit of the time.
It absolutely was. And it wasn't just scientists. The most powerful people in the world were invested.
Yeah.
Take the Holy Roman Emperor, Rudolph II, in the late 1500s.
Okay.
He was a huge patron of the arts and sciences, but he was convinced the Philosopher's Stone was real and achievable. So he created what was basically the ultimate alchemical research institute.
A think tank for immortality.
Exactly. He brought Europe's most famous alchemists to his court in Prague, guys like John Dee and Edward Kelly from England. And he gave them private, state-of-the-art labs and an unlimited budget.
Wow. An unlimited budget.
This wasn't some small side project. This was a state-funded, top-priority national security program aimed at achieving eternal life and infinite money.
It was the Renaissance-era Manhattan Project.
Right. And all of that desperation, all of that money and brain power, it led to the most famous success story in all of alchemy, even if it is just a legend.
Nicholas Flamel.
Nicholas Flamel, a French bookseller from the late 1300s. The story goes that he came across a mysterious ancient book, spent years decoding it, and finally, around the turn of the Renaissance, he succeeded. He made the Philosopher's Stone.
But the official records say he died in 1418?
They do. But the legend, the powerful part of the story, is that he didn't. He and his wife, Perenelle, used the elixir of life. They faked their deaths and have been living quietly for the last 600 years, moving through the world, guarding their secret.
So the ultimate proof of success isn't showing off your gold, it's just disappearing.
Because the secret is too powerful to share. Flamel's story cemented the belief that the stone was real. It told generations of alchemists, it can be done, you just have to be smart enough to vanish once you've done it.
So to find the origin of this secret that obsessed Newton and supposedly made Flamel immortal, we have to go way, way back, further back than medieval Europe.
Much further. We have to follow the chain of transmission that the alchemists themselves believed in.
Okay, so let's trace it. The guys in the Middle Ages, they got their texts from Arabic scholars, from the Islamic Golden Age about 1,000 years ago.
Right. And the Arabs, who were incredible preservers of ancient knowledge, they said they got it from the Egyptians, maybe 2,000 years before them.
But where did the Egyptians get it? That's where the historical record kind of runs out, right?
That's where history ends and the mythological blueprint begins. Because the sources we're looking at claim the Egyptians received this knowledge 36,000 years ago.
Wait, 36,000?
36,000 years ago, from the civilization that first discovered it, Atlantis.
Wow. Okay, so we're really going deep now. And the supposed inventor, the original author of the Emerald Tablet, that was the Egyptian god Thoth.
Jehuti, or Thoth, yeah. He was a huge figure in the Egyptian pantheon, the god of magic, wisdom, writing, the moon. He was worshipped way back before 5000 BC. He's the one you always see depicted with the head of an ibis bird.
And the list of things he supposedly invented is just everything. He didn't just invent one thing, he invented civilization itself.
It's almost unbelievable. He's credited with creating hieroglyphics, right, itself. He wrote the Egyptian Book of the Dead. He's seen as the source of all science, religion, philosophy, and of course, alchemy.
And when the Greeks came along,
they were so blown away, they basically merged him with their own god, Hermes. And this new composite figure, Hermes Trismegistus, they credited him with inventing astronomy, math, medicine, government, the alphabet, you name it.
It's like any culture that came into contact with this knowledge just attributed all of their greatest achievements to its source.
That's a great way to put it. But the secret history in our sources makes a really important distinction. Thoth wasn't a god, and he wasn't even originally Egyptian.
So what was he?
He was a highly advanced being who arrived in Egypt thousands of years ago, and he brought all this knowledge with him from his real home, Atlantis.
Okay, so let's talk about Atlantis. Most of what we know comes from Plato, right?
Plato describes it as this huge, powerful empire made up of 10 kingdoms. And according to this mythology, Thoth's story begins on one specific island, the island of Undal.
Undal.
That was the center of Atlantean science and philosophy. He was born there 36,000 years ago, in a city called Kiora. And he wasn't just some random citizen. He was born into the group that was in charge of protecting all this knowledge.
Kind of priestly or scientific class.
Exactly. His father was the keeper of the Great Temple, and they were part of a group known as the Children of Light.
The Children of Light.
This is a key part of the story. They're described as an advanced, mortal race who lived alongside regular humans in Atlantis. They had science, language, technology that was centuries ahead of everyone else.
Which is why people would have seen them as gods.
Precisely. Some
Yeah.
sources even speculate they could have been extraterrestrials, or maybe related to the Anunnaki from Sumerian myth. But whether they were aliens or just a hyper-evolved branch of humanity, they were the keepers of the secrets that would eventually be written on the Emerald Tablet.
And Thoth learned these secrets.
He spent decades being trained by a master called Horlit, the Dweller. It was this intense, long-term apprenticeship in science and spirit. And at the end of it, he was offered the ultimate prize.
Immortality.
He was invited to a sacred place called the Halls of Amenti, and there he was given the key to life. But it wasn't just about living forever. He was given the ability to consciously reincarnate.
What does that mean?
He could choose to shed his physical body every 100 years or so, and then be reborn. But with all his memories and all his wisdom intact, he became an immortal guardian of this ancient knowledge.
That's a whole other level of immortality.
It is. But of course, this Atlantean paradise wasn't meant to last.
The Great Flood. The story that's in almost every ancient culture on Earth.
And the sources are very specific about the timing. They say Atlantis was destroyed 13,000 years ago.
Which is significant because...
Because that lines up almost perfectly with a real catastrophic geological event we know happened, the Younger Dryas period.
Right. A sudden massive climate shift. Glaciers melting, sea levels rising like crazy.
Exactly. It was a period of global chaos around 12,900 years ago. So the flood myth isn't just a story. It's a memory of a real-world cataclysm.
So Thoth escaped this cataclysm.
He did. Before the continent sank, he led expeditions out to create new colonies. He took the knowledge, and he took the original Emerald Tablet, and he traveled to South America, Central America, and most importantly, to a land they called Kem.
Ancient Egypt.
Ancient Egypt. The knowledge survived, but its source was erased from the map. And that's why it became a secret, shrouded in myth for thousands of years.
Okay, so let's talk about the tablet itself. The physical object Thoth supposedly brought with him. We're talking about a single tablet, right?
One singular artifact, the blueprint.
And what did it look like? What was it made of?
Well, the name gives it away. It was supposedly carved from a single massive piece of green emerald.
A giant emerald.
That's the main story. But some sources suggest it might have been a kind of green crystal, or even orichalcum.
Orichalcum. That's the legendary metal Plato said was mined only in Atlantis, right? Second only to gold in value.
That's the one. So whatever it was made of, the material itself was meant to be rare, perfect, and incorruptible. A fitting medium for the ultimate secrets of the universe.
And the text on it. It's surprisingly short, isn't it?
Incredibly short. Just 24 stanzas. It's not a step-by-step guide. It's more like a series of dense philosophical statements about how the universe works. That's why people like Newton treated it like a code that just needed the right key to unlock it.
And this text becomes the foundational document for what we call Hermeticism.
Right. It's linked to Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great Hermes, who is either Thoth's reincarnation or that Greek-Egyptian fusion we talked about. And the core idea of Hermeticism is that everything is connected. The universe is one single unified thing.
And that idea was hugely influential, especially for secret societies.
Massively. The Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, the
Yeah.
Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. They all built their esoteric philosophies on the foundations laid out in the Emerald Tablet.
The Rosicrucians, for instance, used its ideas for their whole system of spiritual evolution.
They did. And later, in the late 19th century, the Golden Dawn took it even further. They blended it with Kabbalah, astrology, and tarot to create this really complex system of magic. But it all rested on the core Hermetic principle of unity.
And the most famous line, the one everyone knows even if they don't know where it's from, that comes directly from the tablet.
It does. The second verse of the Emerald Tablet is maybe the most famous esoteric phrase in the world. As above, so below.
Meaning the small reflects the large. What happens on Earth reflects what happens in the cosmos.
Exactly. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm. It's the ultimate statement of universal unity.
So the text is real, it's influential, but what about the physical tablet? After Thoth brings it to Egypt, where does it go?
And that's where the trail goes cold. And we enter the realm of legend and conjecture. The first time we have a confirmed historical mention of it is in an Arabic text from about 1200 years ago. But even that text says it's just a translation of something much, much older.
But there's that one incredible story from the 1st century AD, the philosopher Apollonius of Tyana.
Right. Apollonius was a mystic who claimed he went on a quest to find the original tablet. His journey led him to a hidden cave underneath a statue of Hermes.
Whoa.
He describes going down into this dark chamber, and there, sitting on a golden throne, was the corpse of Hermes Trismegistus himself.
The actual body.
A withered, skeletal body, clutching the emerald tablet in its hands. And Apollonius gave a description of its size, almost 4 feet tall and 3 feet wide.
A 4-foot emerald slab, that's a pretty big claim. So what happened to it? If he found it, where is it now?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. One story says he gave it to the Roman Emperor Hadrian, who buried it under his palace. Another says it was lost in the fire at the Library of Alexandria, which is a convenient excuse for any lost ancient text.
Right.
Others say the Knights Templar found it during the Crusades, and it's now locked away in the Vatican secret archives.
Right.
The point is, no one knows. The physical object just vanishes.
Which brings us to the 20th century, and a huge controversial twist in the story. The single tablet disappears, but suddenly we get the plural tablets.
This is where we pivot from ancient mystery to documented modern fraud. It all starts in 1925 with a man calling himself Dr. Maurice Doreal.
Doreal. And he claimed he went to Egypt.
He claimed he went to Giza. The story was that Thoth had built the Great Pyramid specifically to protect some great artifact. So Doreal goes there, explores, and claims to find not 1, but 10 emerald tablets.
10 of them. And who had them?
A mysterious secret society he called the Great White Brotherhood. He said they wouldn't let him take the tablets, but they allowed him to translate them. And those translations became his hugely popular book in 1939, The Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean.
And this book became the new Bible for all this Atlantis stuff.
It became the definitive source. It confirmed the whole 36,000-year history, confirmed Thoth as the author, and it became the foundational text for Doreal's own religion, the Brotherhood of the White Temple. It introduced all these exciting new ideas.
Like the one thing, which sounds a lot like the Force from Star Wars.
It really does. He described it as this cosmic energy that flows through everything. He also wrote about all this lost Atlantean technology, like a firestone that could generate power and manipulate matter. It was thrilling, detailed, and it filled in all the blanks the original 24-stanza tablet left empty.
But our sources are pretty clear that Doreal was not who he said he was.
Not even close. Let's pull the curtain back. First, his real name was Claude Doggins.
Claude Doggins.
The doctor in his name was fake. He never got a doctorate. In fact, he never even finished high school.
So, a high school dropout claimed to have translated the secrets of the universe.
It gets better. He claimed he was a child prodigy who could read and write the moment he was born, that he was doing advanced math before he was 1 year old.
Okay.
But despite this supposed super genius intellect, his actual job, before becoming a spiritual leader, was driving a cab in Chicago.
So what about his trip to Egypt?
He never went. Later in his life, when people asked to see his passport, he finally admitted he had never physically been to Egypt. He claimed his travels to the pyramid were astral travels.
He went there in his mind.
That was his story.
Yeah.
It's the perfect defense, right?
Yeah.
You can't prove I wasn't there because my body wasn't there.
That is something.
But the real smoking gun isn't just his fake credentials or his astral projection. It's where he got all that exciting, detailed information about Atlantis from.
It wasn't from ancient tablets.
It was from pulp fiction magazines.
You're kidding me.
I'm not.
Yeah.
His stories about UFOs, alien attacks, these weird human-serpent hybrids living in the desert. Large chunks of it are lifted, sometimes almost word for word, from H.P. Lovecraft's horror stories. He basically took ideas from the fictional Necronomicon and passed them off as ancient history.
And it wasn't just Lovecraft.
No. He also heavily borrowed from a popular series in a sci-fi magazine called Amazing Stories. It was called the Shaver Mysteries, and it was all about these secret underground races and lost technology. Doggins just repackaged 1940s science fiction, set it 36,000 years in the past, and sold it as sacred truth.
Wow, so he was just a con man.
A very successful one for a time, but his whole empire came crashing down when his own wife publicly called him out for being a liar and a cheat in front of his followers. It led to this big, messy, cult leader divorce that even made the newspapers.
So just to be crystal clear for anyone listening, if you've heard the detailed story about Thoth and the Children of Light and the Firestone, that whole exciting narrative comes from a 20th century cab driver who copied science fiction stories for profit.
That is the crucial takeaway. The short, cryptic 24-stanza text is ancient, but the vast, detailed universe around it is less than 100 years old.
That idea of secrecy, of guarding this knowledge, that was central to alchemy for thousands of years, until very, very recently.
Right. We're going to jump from ancient texts and 20th century fraud to full-blown 21st century digital disclosure. The key date is March 11th, 2011.
What happened then?
A 165-page manuscript just appeared online. It was called the Book of Aquarius, and its anonymous author made a radical claim right at the start.
Which was?
The Age of Secrets is over. No need for mystical language or metaphor. Everything is stated plainly and directly.
So this was it, the final decoded recipe for the Philosopher's Stone, free for anyone on the internet.
That was the claim. The author said they were fulfilling a 12,000-year-old prophecy by releasing the secret that had been hidden since the fall of Atlantis, and they encouraged everyone to download it, share it, spread it as widely as possible.
And this wasn't like the Doggins book. This one had some real scholarly heft to it.
It did. It's a dense academic work. It references and synthesizes information from 49 different historical alchemical texts, some of them incredibly obscure, spanning 1,000 years of history.
So whoever wrote it was either a serious academic historian
or someone who had spent their entire life doing what Newton tried to do.
Yeah.
Actually cracking the code.
And the book promised to strip away all the poetry, the dragons and the eagles, and just tell you what to do.
Which leads us to the single most shocking claim in this entire deep dive.
Yeah.
The one simple, universally available ingredient that the Book of Aquarius says is the prima materia, the key to the entire process.
Okay, what is it?
It's urine.
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 Mm-hmm.
You're telling me the greatest minds in history were searching for the secret to eternal life, and the answer was urine. That seems anticlimactic.
It sounds absurd at first, but the author lays out a surprisingly logical case for it. The main argument is that all the confusing metaphors were deliberate disinformation to hide the truth in plain sight.
So what's the logic? Why that specific ingredient?
The thinking is this. The secret ingredient has to be something that's constantly renewable, available to everyone, and fundamentally linked to life itself.
And urine isn't seen as waste in this context. It's seen as the concentrated, purified essence of your life energy. It's the final output of everything you take in air, food, water, all processed and refined by the body.
And believe it or not, this idea isn't new. It actually has a historical precedent.
It does. You can go back to the 16th century to a very famous and respected alchemist named Paracelsus. He argued that the life force, the essence, could be found and extracted from all sorts of human biological materials: blood, hair, sweat, and yes, human waste.
So the idea that the secret was inside us was always there.
It was, and the author of the book suggests the alchemists even hid clues in the names of their secret societies.
Like what?
Take the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The book claims that name is a literal coded instruction, golden for the color of the liquid, and dawn for the best time of day to collect it when it's most concentrated.
Oh, wow. So Golden Dawn isn't a mystical, poetic name. It's a lab instruction.
When you look at it through that lens, it changes everything. It reframes these secret societies from covens of magicians into, well, highly specialized biological chemists.
So the Book of Aquarius wasn't just a theory. It was a full-on recipe book.
A very intensive one. This wasn't a weekend project. The full process was laid out as a 3 to 8 year commitment. It required incredible patience.
Okay, walk me through it. What are the steps?
It's broken into stages, which are described by color, just like in the old texts. Part 1 is all about purification. That alone can take a year. You have to repeatedly distill the urine.
Okay.
First, you're removing the heaviest particles. Then you do it again and again to remove the lightest particles, which eventually forms a kind of purified salt crystal.
So you're separating it into its core components.
Exactly. Then you start part 2, which can take another year or more. You recombine that salt with the distilled liquid, and you apply a very low, continuous heat, and you wait for it to putrefy, to rot.
It has to rot.
It has to turn completely black. This is the first major stage in alchemy, the nigredo, the blackening. The idea is that before you can perfect something, you first have to kill it, break it down to its most basic, chaotic state.
So you have to go through death to get to rebirth.
That's the philosophy.
Yeah.
After the black stage, you keep heating it, and eventually it's supposed to turn white. That's the albedo, the whitening, which symbolizes purification.
And the final step.
You increase the heat even more, and the white substance is supposed to transform one last time, turning a deep red, the rubedo.
The red stone, the Philosopher's Stone.
That's the goal, the finished product.
So when this recipe book hits the internet in 2011, what happens? Did people actually start trying to do this?
Oh, absolutely. The author set up a website, thebookofaquarius.com, and it had forums. And these forums exploded. A global community of amateur alchemists popped up overnight. Yeah, they were all following the instructions, sharing tips, posting pictures of their progress, discussing how their diet was affecting the quality of their essence. It was this huge open source citizen science experiment, but the goal was immortality.
And these forums were active for a few years, right?
For several years. Just long enough for the most dedicated people to potentially reach the final rubedo stage.
And then what happened?
The website just vanished.
Gone.
Wiped clean. The book itself is still out there. You can still download it. But the forums, all the community discussion, the shared results, the photos, all of it was erased without any explanation.
Which, of course, just created a whole new conspiracy theory.
2 of them, mainly. Theory 1. Someone actually succeeded, became immortal, and immediately shut the site down to protect the secret, just like the legends of Flamel.
And theory 2.
That the Illuminati or some other shadowy elite group realized the secret was out in the open and they scrubbed the forums to stop the masses from achieving immortality.
It just proves that the belief in a hidden secret is almost as powerful as the secret itself. But let's do the final reality check here. Has anyone in history, following this exact process with this exact ingredient, ever actually created something world-changing?
Yes, one person. We have one confirmed, documented case. A German alchemist in 1669 named Hennig Brand.
Okay, Hennig Brand.
And he was doing this centuries before the book came out. He was completely convinced that the secret to the stone was in urine. He dedicated years of his life to the same process: boiling, distilling, purifying, and heating.
And he was serious about it.
Incredibly serious. The records show he processed over 1,500 gallons of the stuff.
1,500 gallons.
And after years of this intense process, he finally ended up with a small amount of a white, waxy substance.
The albedo stage? Did he get to the rubedo? Did he make the stone?
He didn't make the stone. It didn't turn lead into gold. It didn't make him immortal. But it did do something utterly amazing for the 17th century.
What?
It glowed in the dark.
Glow.
A brilliant, eerie glow. He had accidentally discovered a new element: phosphorus.
Wow. Okay, let's connect the dots. He followed the recipe for the elixir of life and discovered phosphorus. Why? What's the chemical connection?
It's a perfect example of a mystical goal leading to a real chemical result. Urine is full of phosphates. It's how our bodies get rid of excess phosphorus. The alchemical process he used, all that boiling and intense heating, was basically a crude but effective chemical reduction process. It couldn't perform nuclear transmutation, changing one element to another, but it was very good at separating compounds.
So he boiled off everything else and isolated the phosphorus.
He essentially concentrated the phosphates from 1,500 gallons down to a manageable amount, and then the final high heat stage reduced those phosphate salts into pure elemental phosphorus, which is highly reactive and glows when it's exposed to the air.
So the ancient process worked. It just produced something real instead of something magical.
Exactly. It validated the alchemical method, even if it disproved the alchemical goal.
And what happened to Brand?
Well, for a while, he kept his discovery a secret, hoping he could still use it to make gold. He eventually sold the process. But, just like with Flamel, the historical records of his death are a bit vague.
So the legend says?
The legend says he, too, faked his death and disappeared, another immortal alchemist hiding in the shadows. It just shows that the desire for the secret to be real is almost impossible to extinguish.
Okay, so this has been a massive journey. We've gone from Atlantis to a modern internet forum. Let's try to synthesize this for everyone listening. What's real and what's fiction?
Right. So the core verifiable fact is that the text of the Emerald Tablet is real and very old. And it was so influential that it drove some of the greatest minds in history, like Isaac Newton, for decades.
And the methods they developed in that pursuit accidentally created the foundations for modern chemistry.
That's fact number two. But the huge detailed mythology that most people associate with it, the 36,000-year history, Atlantis, Thoth, the Children of Light, that was almost entirely invented in the 20th century by a proven fraud named Claude Doggins, who was basically just rewriting science fiction stories.
And finally, the modern recipe for the stone, the one from the Book of Aquarius with the single shocking ingredient.
That recipe is based on a real historical alchemical process. But the one time we have documented proof of someone following it through to the end, it didn't lead to immortality. It led to the discovery of the element phosphorus.
It really shows that the human drive to overcome death is maybe the most powerful catalyst for innovation we have. Whether it's through ancient magic, modern cryonics, or uploading our minds to a computer, the goal is always the same.
And that brings us back to those legends of secrecy with Flamel and Brand. The stories that they succeeded, and the very first thing they did was fake their own deaths to hide the secret. They understood how dangerous it would be if it got out.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for you to take with you. If you were the one, if you spent the years, followed the process, and actually succeeded in creating the Philosopher's Stone, if you had guaranteed your own eternal life and endless wealth, would you ever tell another soul? Or would you just quietly disappear, leaving everyone else to wonder if it was all just a myth?